Franklin County Commissioners meeting, February 6, 2018.
Okay, good morning. It is Tuesday, February 6, 2018. This is the regular weekly meeting of the Franklin County Board of Commissioners. Excuse me, the full board is here. Commissioner Cook, Commissioner Miller, myself, Commissioner Peck, as well as County Administrator Mr. Johnson. We have a relatively short agenda today, and the first item is the call to order, so we're now in session, and ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as already noted, it is an unusually short agenda. We do have a couple of executive sessions later in the meeting that are going to take some time. But the first item on the published agenda is public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that cares to have a conversation with the board? This would be your opportunity. Not seeing anybody jumping up and down to have a conversation with us. I thought we were more popular than that. Okay then, let's move on to office business. I understand we have some warrants this morning.
We do. We've got 3 of them this morning. First being fund expenditures, 9 miscellaneous items, current expense, county roads, track operation, etc. for $219,738.23. Keith has looked it over, and Mr. Beaton signed it off.
No second.
Okay, well, since this is a short meeting today and got lots of time, I'll use this to make a comment that I throw into the record occasionally, which is the public should know that the process by which we do these is that these expenditures are processed on written documents, vouchers that come through, and they get reviewed by the auditor's office. No process is perfect. I think they do a pretty good job of reviewing those, and then they'll come over to the county administrator who will give them a look as well, and then they come to us, and the board puts great faith in the staff's ability to do these reviews, and we approve them. So if anybody's curious, that's the process. So we have a motion and a second for approval of fund expenditures in the amount of $219,738.23 as presented. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Second of 3 is salary clearing payroll and emergency management payroll, and the bottom line of $988,479.33. Mr. Beaton and was prepared by all members.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of salary clearing and emergency management payroll. Any comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those are approved as well.
Third and final is county road and motor vehicle payroll. Bottom line of those 2 items is $109,650.46. And again, Mr. Beaton has signed off along with Ramirez.
Second motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for approval of county road and motor vehicle expenses in the amount read into the record. Any comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those are approved as well. I know we've got 7 items on the consent agenda this morning. Are there any items that any commissioner would wish to pull out for separate discussion?
I would move for approval of the consent agenda 1 through 7 as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion and second for approval of consent as presented with 7 items. Comments or questions?
I have none.
I do not have any either.
Okay. No comments, no questions. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved as presented. Wow. Delay. This could be the record. I'm afraid the executive sessions are going to kill any hope of a record.
I think so.
Okay, that brings us to administration and office business. Mr. Johnson, for you, please.
Yes, we do have a request for 2 executive sessions this morning. The first one being a request for up to 20 minutes under RCW 42.30.110, paragraph 1, subparagraph I, to discuss legal counsel matters related to agency enforcement actions, litigation, or potential litigation. I would ask that Jim Johnson, county's attorney, and Sheriff Langman be allowed to participate in that executive session.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just note for the record that our practice is that we'll go into executive session for up to the specified time, which is 20 minutes. If we're able to conclude in 10 minutes, we'll come back in 10 to try and expedite things and limit anybody's wait. Because we have no other business items other than these executive sessions, and following these is a public comment period, I'm going to go ahead and ask if there's any public comment at this time, so that if someone doesn't want to wait for those executive sessions, they have an opportunity now. I suspect there's not, because I don't think anybody in the room has changed since the last public comment period, but I just wanted to offer that opportunity. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and, other than those people invited to stay, please ask the rest to step out, and we will conclude this as quickly as we can. Thank you. Okay, we have completed our initial executive session. It took the full 20 minutes. Doors open. We're back on an open session. We'll pause for a moment to see if anyone else needs to come in. Okay, Keith, back to you.
Yes, I just note for the record, no decisions were reached in the earlier executive session. I would request a second executive session with the board under RCW 42.30.110, paragraph 1, subparagraph G, to evaluate qualifications of applicant for employment or review performance of public employee. Ask that to be for up to 20 minutes. I would request that Carly Nave, our HR director, and Laura Stark from the Department of Public Works be allowed to participate. Matt Mahoney, the Public Works Director, would have been here but had a family emergency, so is unable to attend. Ask Laura to fill in for him.
Okay, and how long do you think we will?
Up to 20 minutes.
Okay, well, it is approaching 9:31. We'll go into executive session at 9:31 for up to 20 minutes for the RCW that's been already cited by Mr. Johnson. If you would go ahead and close the door, Carly, and okay, we've completed our executive session, and the recording is back on. We're back in open session. The same players are still here, all 3 board members and county administrator. We have also Carly Nave from the HR office and Laura Stark from Public Works. And as is consistent with state statute, we don't make decisions in executive session, but sometimes those executive sessions lead to the necessity for a decision, and today is one of those circumstances. We've got a recommendation from the HR office based on recent salary review actions which are being done across the county to make some pay adjustments in 2 key and essential positions. One is the county engineer position, and the other is the public works position for the county surveyor. I'm going to take a moment and pass these resolutions that have just been provided to us so that the other board members can look at them. And there's some additional copies. And if after taking a moment to review these, any board members inclined to make a motion, excuse me, please do so. While you're looking at those, I'll just remind that the county is undergoing a county-wide review of all of our positions and compensation to ensure that we're compensating our employees appropriately and fairly and consistent with market demand. It's very expensive to go out and replace people, especially very good people, which is what we have in Franklin County. So paying them fairly and consistently is not only fair to them, but it reduces cost and risk for the county by reducing turnover, which has its own inherent challenges and costs. So this has been brought to us on the premise that these positions are currently undercompensated based on review of the marketplace. And because they're key essential positions, look at these ahead of the rest of the group to ensure that we have retention in these vital positions. Carly, anything you'd add to that, or is that a reasonable summary?
I think that's a reasonable summary.
Okay.
These gentlemen are at 7.5 hours. How'd that ever start?
They're not at 7.5 hour. What we have is a situation where exempt positions are on the same salary matrix as the 7.5 hour positions. In general, most exempt positions in the county are classified as 8-hour positions, but they're paid a salary somewhere along the line before my time, because it's not something I would ever recommend. The exempt positions were placed on this same 7.5 hour non-bargaining salary matrix.
I would encourage the board to take your time to read these through. Don't feel any rush. We've got a very light schedule this morning, but plenty of time.
I just see that you don't have these. You've got the grade here, but no steps listed in the resolution.
Yeah, the steps are on the personnel action form. Signed by the chair. Those don't require a resolution.
Excuse me, the resolution is to simply change the grade for the position, correct?
Correct.
And then the step is by a separate board action.
Correct. For the individual.
And signed by the chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion here.
Okay.
This is the compensation change for Assistant Public Works Director, County Engineer position. This is for, Franklin County approved the placement of the Assistant Public Works Director, County Engineer position at grade 22 of the exempt and 7.5 hour non-exempt non-bargaining step matrix.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for approval of the resolution presented to us a few minutes ago, along with good background discussion and information in executive session. Are there other questions or discussion? We've got experts here from Public Works and from HR. I don't have any questions. I think we've had a good discussion, but I just want to make sure that everybody has a full opportunity.
We've discussed them.
All right, well, hearing no other comments or questions, all in favor of approving the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that effectively changes pay metrics for that position.
I would move for approval of the compensation change for the professional land surveyor position.
Second.
Okay, so a motion and a second for approval of the resolution the compensation change for professional land surveyor position. We've had discussion on this one also. Any other comments or questions about this proposed wage action? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye. So both of those requested resolutions are approved. Now there's a secondary matter of steps for these positions. Carly, would you like to speak to that briefly, and if board action required, outline what you'd like to see?
What we have is a recommendation for step placement for the individuals currently occupying these positions. We would, if approved, we would request the chair to sign those personnel action forms for Mr. Craig Erdman to be placed at a step 5 of the approved salary grade, and John Christensen at a step 5 of the approved salary grade.
Okay. excuse me, we can do this by consensus without objection, or if there's a desire to make a formal motion, you can do that.
I can make a motion to ask the chairman to sign the personal action form stating step 5 for Mr. Erdman and also step 5 for Mr. Christensen. Okay.
I'm happy to second that. Any other comment or discussion on the motion to set both of these positions and the individuals who are currently occupying those positions at a step 5? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we've just changed the grade on 2 positions and approved a step 5 for each of those. Here are signed resolutions, and would add your signatures. Keith, that can come back to you. Carly, you want me to sign the commissioner line on these approvals? Right
Yes,
here?
please.
All right. While I'm signing these, I want to thank Laura for being here on short notice to represent the department. We appreciate that. And Carly, thanks to you for the obvious background work necessary to bring this together on short order and ensure that we retain these high-quality individuals. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes any business I have for the board today.
Any other business from the board?
How about out of Public Works?
Pardon me?
Everything going well out of Public Works?
Yes, absolutely. Very busy.
Okay. I'd like to bring up something here. I was in a couple meetings, and they communities wanted me to give you a copy of this. I don't know if you get that in the mail or not, but pass it out to you guys. So, and then I also attended a Tri-City Metro Drug Court. There's another situation going on where I'm not going to get too much into it yet because we have one more meeting. And this is in Chief Holberg and Chief Metzer and the Sheriff are come up and talk to us too. But I wanted to hand you out their summary just for your.
So you're aware, as you're explaining this, I've received a few phone calls on it from various sources expressing opinions.
And that's why I said it. So we have one more meeting here next week, and some things will probably change there. I did meet with our past executives manager and Dave Table, and did talk to him. And they are working they will work very well with Franklin County on our portion of what they're asking to supplement what they need to do because of the loss of a Burns grant fee that we had. And really the reason why the loss is because of sanctuary cities. They can consider us as the state, and this is the Trump administration, they consider us as a state, as a sanctuary state, and we have lost the Burns grant funding, or anybody that has sanctuary cities will. So because of that, we lost amount of money, about $110,000. And as you remember, a couple years ago, it was up to $300,000. It keeps dropping. So there's a lot of concern going on in what's going to be the future of Metro. This year, we think we're going to get by, but the following year, maybe some other suggestions.
So my understanding is that the loss of the Burns grant, we're trying to make up the money, and there's a question about how that funding makeup should be divided among counties and cities, and that there's some proposal to do it on a population base. I'm not entirely clear on what the current basis is for divvying up. Do you know how those shares are currently divided?
You know, I do. There's a couple different ways we were explaining. Trying to find the paper on that. I think it was actually on the email. me not to have that with me. But what it comes down to is either a straight share across about $19,000 per jurisdiction or 6 jurisdictions. Then the other idea was to split it 75-25 with Benton County and Franklin County being 25, and Pasco, and that's what Pasco has offered to pay for a larger share of that. And one reason why I passed you out the mental summary here is because you can see where the rest have been held.
So does that mean that there wouldn't be a direct fee to the cities, that the two counties would split it and then the counties would recover what they could from their cities? Is that how you're describing it?
What I'm describing is 75-20 for Franklin County, Benton County, and Benton County and their jurisdictions will discuss this. This is really still wide open, so it's not, that was the last discussion we had. And again, like next week when we have our meeting, we're going to get more into it.
Let me ask it differently then. The 75-25 split, is that just the county share and then the cities have to pay in addition to that?
No.
Does the county share include the city's contribution?
It did. 25% for Franklin County, meaning Pasco and Franklin County will decide what that is.
Okay.
So more to be known Tuesday the 8th or whatever it is. They're coming next meeting. It is the 8th, so any more discussion further and have some more information on what the commitment will be for the counties and the cities.
So I saw an email floating around asking the question whether or not we need a meeting next week on the 13th. Does Keith, Karen, anybody have any feedback on where we stand now? Does it look like we need to have one?
The only thing we have is the legislative stage. We have nothing.
What is the likelihood that, is there anything in the wings that we are aware of that might be coming in the next couple of days?
4 o'clock today is the agenda. I don't have any.
Okay, so I would ask the board's authority then to talk with Mr. Johnson at 4 p.m. today. If we don't have any additional topics that the chair feels need to go immediately, the board's authority to go ahead and cancel that meeting next week. If in fact there is something that comes in of consequence, I would ask that you give me the latitude to make that call and go ahead and hold the meeting next week.
Karen will be out next week also.
So who says exactly what you're...
So what I'm saying is we'll know by 4 today what's on the queue for next week. Right now it doesn't look like anything. I'm going to ask the board to give me the authority to make the call as to whether or not we have a meeting. I'll make that call at 4 o'clock today based on what comes in the door today. Any objection? Okay, without objection, then that's what we'll do. Second item, I'm anticipating having a package before the board probably February 20th, which would be the week after next. It may be the following week, but it is on the home builder's proposal to put concrete in the arena at the track. I had a brief meeting with them yesterday, made a few recommendations as to how they orchestrate the annual reduction in their fee for the home builder show to make it a more linear and gradual reduction. So each year their reductions a little more. It gives us time to build up business in the arena side to offset that increased reduction. The way they had it originally proposed, it was a very modest amount for the first 4 or 5 years, and then it went up precipitously, and I'd like to see a more gradual incline over time. Other than that, no significant change. The manager over there, Mr. French, is looking at one other possible modification to the idea or to the concept, and that would be to, let me preface this comment by saying that the arena is on the north side of the complex, and using that as a reference point, the north wall of the arena and the east and west walls of the arena are the points to which the concrete will flow. So it will go all the way to the east end, to the west end, and all to the north wall. On the south wall, which is the wall that is nearest the atrium, we have a substantial set of bleachers there. And part of those bleachers, the part closest to the atrium, has concrete under it, but there's a strip under the front section of bleachers that is rock and doesn't have any concrete. And we stepped that off yesterday and did a sort of a cursory analysis of what the economic value would be of having that extra booth space for expos and events, and as weighed against the utility of those few rows of bleachers down low in front. And Tom's of the opinion, and I tend to agree, that it might make sense to pull out that lower front section of bleachers on that south side of the arena so that the whole thing could become concrete. It would give us more usable, saleable, marketable space, and it's Tom's opinion that those bleachers are dramatically underutilized now, and so the remaining bleachers would still handle all the bleacher space that we've needed in the past. So I would invite you to make a trip over the track and ask him to show you what that's about. I agree with him. I think it's a good step, a good idea. And if that were to be something we want to pursue, then I think we should all share that with Keith. And that's the one thing that I could see that might delay this track package beyond February 20th, maybe to the week following. So, but other than that, I think we're on a path to have a vote as to whether or not the board wants to move forward with this. And so I think that's all I have for an update on track.
Talking about pulling all those bleachers?
No, just on the bleachers that are currently on the south wall.
Right.
Starting from the wall all the way down to the arena dirt. If that's 100% of the bleachers, you'd be taking off maybe the front 20% or 25%, because those have, for some reason, gravel under them. The back 2/3 or so, or
Right, I
3/4
understand that.
have concrete. Yeah.
Didn't know if we planned on pulling all the bleachers, so it's all concrete.
No.
You're gonna have to have some steps going up into the.
Yeah, the steps already, where the steps currently come up is about where we had separated. So you keep the steps, you keep the wide walkway. It's just the lower bleachers in front of those. For some reason, all the rest of the bleachers have concrete under them. It's just that front section that has gravel in it. It would seem odd that if we were ever going to pull those bleachers out of there to get more floor space, we'd then be digging for concrete anyway.
Yeah.
But Tom's view is that we've never needed all that bleacher space anyway, and that he thinks that the floor space is vastly more useful and marketable as open space.
So the building is a building that is meant more for the outdoor type sports or whatever, arenas, things. Is the plan to renovate this building in the future, such as put insulation, walls, make better bleachers, things like this? Because if it is, it almost seems to me that it's almost just as good to start with a new building, keep that arena, and start with a new building for this type of entertainment. And the reason why I say that is we do have land out there that I think the land could be sold, and a portion of that could be going back in for something like that. I do think there's still use for the arena. It just isn't marketed well. I know there's other things out there, but there's other ideas too with the arena we can use. Different places to have an arena. Maybe out in the county, maybe right outside the door.
You preference your comment with a question, so I'll answer that question. The question was, is the plan to make improvements to that building to eventually make it, and I'm going to interpret a little bit here, but what I heard you say is make it more like the expo hall and less like an equestrian arena.
Yeah.
And I don't have any plans of that nature. I do think that there's some work that can be done to clean up the existing walls. I've told Tom that I think the flag that's hanging in there is a disgrace, and I want it either cleaned or replaced. I suggested he might also investigate the appropriateness of a professionally painted flag on the end wall as opposed to the very expensive replacement of what's called the garrison flag, that very large flag. And we also had a discussion about how you properly dispose of flags when they've reached their end of service life. So he's going to look at whether it's possible to have a flag cleaned, if not, how it's properly disposed of, and also evaluate replacement versus painting one on the end wall. those are all secondary issues that I think can be handled after the fact. But with respect to your specific question, I'm not aware of any plans to try and turn that into an expo hall, but rather to keep it a multi-purpose facility that could have dirt over top of the concrete, as virtually every other similar facility in the Northwest does for those events that wish to have dirt, and to have it as a hard surface for all the other events that Mr. French assures me he can book in there.
But didn't we discuss the dirt hauling was quite expensive? In and out.
Well, I've never seen any actual numbers. I've heard that assertion. I've also said that I believe that proper equipment and a conveyor, a chute and a conveyor system that would allow you to move all the dirt to a central point, push it onto a conveyor that goes through the wall and deposits it outside the building, that can essentially be reversed to bring the dirt back in, might be a way to mitigate the cost and the time required to do that. But I've never seen any hard numbers on what it takes to do that. Other arenas, like I said, virtually everyone that I'm aware of in the Pacific Northwest operates that way with dirt over concrete, and we would do well to look at how they manage that task efficiently, and I'm sure we can learn from some of those places. But regardless, my intention is to move forward with a package before the board so the board can make a decision. And whatever that decision is, it will be, but at least we'll have a full discussion on it in the open on the record, and the board can vote. And we can each take whatever position we think is in the best interest of the county. And we've got lots of time, so I'm happy to stay and discuss this and any other issue anybody wants to discuss.
Briefly, I failed, I was going to forward it, I failed to, but I will. A gentleman named Clay White, I had a chance to meet a number of years ago through Jared. He was a planner at Snohomish County when I first met him. He has since gone on to his own civil engineering group. And anyway, he sent me Jared and Marty Snell from Clark County and Clay all met a week ago in Ellensburg. I don't know if they all went to school together or just good buddies that got to get a men's weekend. But anyway, Clay said, I was just getting in touch because I know you've had some transitional planning and are also going through the comprehensive plan update. If you need any assistance, and I think I, myself, and our team could help. Just let me know. Obviously, I have a lot of planning experience in Eastern Washington, and we have a great team of planners that can assist with both permitting and long-range planning.
And I'm sorry, I missed the first part. I got the name Clay White. Is there a business there, or is this simply a group of talented individuals?
No, the first part is that Clay and Jared and Marty Snell just somehow have met as planners. I don't know if they went to school together, but they met in Ellensburg a week ago, and I sat alongside of Marty Snell at the Transportation Improvement Board.
Okay.
And he was telling me they're going to meet up, and I said, well, I told him that we're losing a planner, and that's how this came about.
Great. And when you said Jared, is that Jared McPherson?
Yeah. I'll forward this. There's a link to his website. I had talked to him after Jared left originally, and he had offered his help also at that time. So
Great. Well, I'd sure appreciate it if you get with Keith and make sure he's got those details so that we can add that to our list of resources.
yeah,
Great, thank you.
I'll forward it to everybody. And
I've made a couple of trips to Olympia recently. I'll give you a quick update on the most recent one. I met with several. They all seem to run together. An unknown number of legislators, I guess somewhere approaching a dozen state senators, state representatives. I was speaking to them on a variety of issues, preeminent issues were seeking funding for the juvenile justice reconstruction replacement project. And I heard pretty much the same thing from everybody, which was this is a supplemental year and that there's little money to go around. In fact, that the supplemental budget changes are really only for unforeseen needs and emergencies, and that this generally didn't fit into those categories. And I countered that we understood that, but we thought it was important to try and be first in the queue and plant the seed and start beginning to express our need. And they all accepted that, appreciated that, which is a long way of saying nobody said no, everybody said not this year, and everybody essentially said you're doing this the right way by getting out here talking to us and getting the process started. And the ask was for $7 million from the state on the proviso that the counties collectively would work to come up with the other $5 million. I told all of them that $5 million for Franklin County would be Franklin County share of the $5 million would be a pretty heavy lift, and that it was very tempting to come in and ask for 10 or 12 and reduce the county's burden, but we understand it's a partnership, and we're going to do the best we can to come up with our portion of the 5. Benton County is on board with the same message. Commissioner Delvin from Benton County and I met several times while we were in Olympia. We coordinated our communications efforts. Notice I didn't say lobbying. Our communications efforts with our elected representatives. Some of the people offhand that I spoke with were Representative Dye, Representative Neely, Representative Jenkins, Representative Walsh, Representative Manwaller, Senator Brown, Representative Clippert, Representative Haler. Those are all the obvious local ones, and there were others that just aren't coming to me right now. Had unusually good success submitting floor notes. I didn't have an opportunity to talk with Representative Schmidt, but I did have pretty good success submitting floor notes and requesting brief meetings with legislators that all seemed happy to come out and have a brief conversation and hear what our needs were. Met with them on a number of other topics too. I pushed for increased funding for our indigent defense costs. WASAC has a bill that they are promoting. Representative Frame from the west side has submitted a bill that WASAC is pushing. I was out pushing for that as well, and that would have a graduated increase from the state picking up a bigger and bigger piece of our indigent defense costs. I believe it's 10% a year until it got up to 100%. And I don't know what the chances are of that bill going through, but I think it's an excellent bill. And there was also discussion in the Legislative Steering Committee meetings about the potential for a WASAC lawsuit with the state concerning unfunded mandates. And I think some of the state legislators are beginning to see that they need to do more. At least one legislator I overheard say, well, it's about time. We thought this would have happened a long time ago. And then also at the conclusion of the Legislative Steering Committee meeting, the Muckles House Center did about a 2-hour, I would have called it a seminar, but it was more an opinion and data sharing and data gathering session on the Growth Management Act, polling all of the represented counties as to what we thought worked, what didn't, what improvements we might like to see, and so forth. That was interesting. I think the most reassuring part of it was that we're all in this together. All the other counties have essentially the same concerns that we do, and the purposes for which the Growth Management Act were put into place, some of them seem to be effective and others not. More to come on that. So that really is a short summary of the activity over there. If anybody wants more detail, I can provide that. So that's all I've got for today.
Was there any discussion on that wrongful death Ways and Means that was passed and the hospital 2262 instead of 1615 that Wasatch's been putting some things out about.
Josh Weiss in legislative activities has been working that pretty hard. I myself didn't have discussions with legislators on that. As you can imagine, when you get a couple of minutes with them, you only have time for 1 or 2 bills at most. And so, yes, there was discussion, but no, I wasn't involved in that. Wasatch is driving that. Okay, well, let's see, there's no one here for public comment. And make a final call from board comments, questions. Keith, anything from you?
No, sir.
I have nothing.
Okay. Commissioner Miller, anything else?
No.
Okay, hearing no other comments, then we are adjourned. Thank you.